Kamar-Taj, Kathmandu, Nepal, May 10, 2012. The sun was just starting to rise from behind the jagged peaks of the Himalayan mountains when I stepped out onto the rooftop courtyard to join the rest of the gray-clothed novices for my first day of actual training. Several of my fellow students turned to look at me as I approached the group, and I saw more than one eyebrow raise when they saw my obvious youth. I was hardly the only female student there, but I couldn't help but feel a bit self-conscious when I compared my own still developing body against the way their own bodies filled out the tight-fitting sleeveless blouses we were wearing. There was a brief moment of mental dissonance as my newly blossomed sense of feminine pride, which had only just begun to take root in the small changing room of a department store in Quebec City, warred with the poor self-image that I had carried over from my previous life. My previous training kicked in as I examined the positions that the other novices had taken in the courtyard, with 5 students standing in a line in the first row, but only 4 in the second, leaving an empty space in the back on the far left. Making my way over on silent feet, I accepted my place amongst their ranks, standing at attention with my hands resting at my sides. I allowed my mind to drift for a bit as we waited for the masters to arrive and start our training, mentally reviewing what I had learned from the books I had read the night before. Most of it had been primers on the basics of how channeling dimensional energies can alter reality, and the dangers involved when channeling these energies through the human body. Some of the woodcuts they had in that particular book were rather graphic. The arrival of Baron Mordo and Master Hammer to the rooftop courtyard refocused my full attention on the present, and a respectful silence fell as Baron Mordo walked over to stand in front of our group. Master Hammer stopped and took up his own position with his back against the wall of the tower, silently looking on as Baron Mordo started our morning training. The language of the mystic arts is as old as civilization, Baron Mordo explained. The sorcerers of antiquity called the use of this language spells. But if that word offends your modern sensibilities, you can call it a program. The source code that shapes reality. I recognized that this was the speech that the Ancient One would give to Doctor Strange in a few years. It made me wonder how many times this same speech has been given, for it to be so practiced. We harness energy, drawn from other dimensions of the multiverse, he continued, fiery sparks of eldritch energy beginning to form a mandala in front of his body with every precise movement of his hands. To cast spells. To conjure shields, and weapons. To make magic. The mandala began to shake in midair, sparks flying off it like burning embers, causing a warm breeze to cut through the morning chill. When harnessed properly, this energy is capable of producing amazing feats, he continued, allowing the spell to disperse in a shower of sparks. However, it is not without its dangers. If the flow of energy is not correct, or if you draw more energy than you can control, you could deal a great amount of damage not only to yourself, but the world around you. There was a moment of silence as he allowed the weight of his words to set in. The chill in the air felt even biting, once he had allowed his spell to fade, seeming to underline how serious this lesson was. 3 things are essential in order to learn how to harness magic, he finally continued. A healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy spirit. Your body will be improved with exercise, and a proper diet. Your mind will be improved with every book you read, and every lesson you learn from myself, and my fellow masters. And a healthy spirit will come from experience, meditation, and self-reflection. Baron Mordo then began to make his way down the line of students, his dark eyes constantly moving as he took our measure. He seemed to pause for a moment when he reached me, his solid frame towering over my lanky teenaged form, before turning around and walking back to the front of our group. The movements of our body help focus our will, guiding the flow of the energy that allows us to cast out spells, he continued, facing us once more. However, it is not enough to just go through the motions. You must have a clear picture of what you are trying to accomplish. The clearer the picture, the more precise the movements, the faster and easier the spell will form. With time and practice, you may even learn how to cast some of the simpler spells with the smallest of gestures. Throwing his hands out to his sides, Baron Mordo conjured a pair of glowing shields, which was one of the most common and basic of combat spells from what I remembered from the movie. Today, we shall be starting with something much simpler, he told us. Now, follow along, and do as I do. What followed was a long series of guided exercises, where he took us through the movements and stances of an ancient martial art form that had been designed to help focus the extra-dimensional energies we would later be learning to harness. The more experienced novices amongst my group managed to form simple shapes, lines of fire in the air that shed an excessive amount of sparks, unlike the smoother, more refined energies created by Baron Mordo. As the sun rose up in the sky, and we approached the end of the morning's lessons, I began to feel a tingling warmth flowing through my arms as I followed along with our instructor. I finally managed to get a few errant sparks to form in the air on front of my hands in the last few minutes before we broke for lunch. It might not seem like much, but those few sparks of energy were the first step on the path to greatness. Kamar-Taj, Kathmandu, Nepal, May 11, 2012. It was the end of my second official day as a novice sorcerer, and I still hadn't managed more than a few sparks. I ended up skipping lunch after getting released from our morning class, instead heading directly back to my bedroom and grabbing my phone off the charger. There hadn't been any emails from my family when I got ready this morning, and I had spent the entire morning worrying about what was going to happen to them once they contacted the Black Widow. My hands trembled a bit as I opened up my Gmail account, and my heart leapt up into my throat when I saw I had 2 emails from my mom, and one from the Black Widow herself. To Laura Kinney. From Sarah Kinney. Subject, reaching out. Hi, Laura. I managed to get into contact with the woman you suggested, and she seems very helpful and understanding. She advised me that she was going to be showing up in around 2 hours, and not to let anyone else in if she's not with them. I'll try to get another message out to you once I know we're safe. I took a deep, shuddering breath, as I closed the first email and moved on to the next. To Laura Kinney. From Sarah Kinney. Subject, visitors. Hi, Laura. You must not have gotten my other email yet. I wish I knew what your class schedule was like. A group of men in uniforms showed up shortly after I sent the first email, but they didn't have the woman with them. Your sisters ended up having to fight them off, and one of them had managed to grab me and was going to use me as a hostage when an arrow hit him in the head. Who fights with a bow these days, seriously? Thankfully, he showed up with the woman you had me contact, so we're safe for now. I've spent the last couple of hours directing the men that came with her and packing up all of the important items in the facility here, and once we're done with that she is going to be taking me and your sisters somewhere where we will be safe. She seemed very understanding when I asked her to keep quiet about us, and she seems very interested in meeting you. She seems like a very nice person, I think you'll like her. Your sisters sure can't get enough of her. She asked for your email address, so you're probably going to be getting an email from her soon. Love ya. Mom. Okay, so, that's mostly good news. I'm definitely relieved that Natasha had taken my mother seriously enough to show up in person, and with Hawkeye of all people. That was a good sign that they would try to take care of my family, since Clint was very much a family man himself, and Natasha had always longed for children of her own. Fucking Red Room bastards. Knowing that my family was attacked, and my mother used as a hostage against my sisters, made me feel sick to my stomach. The entire reason I wanted Mom to contact Natasha was to prevent things like that from happening in the first place, and yet the moment Mom did contact her it ended up happening anyways. Oh, and I'll bet that Natasha wanted to meet me. No doubt she has all kinds of questions to ask me, most of them pertaining to how I knew to have my mom contact her, which would lead into a whole lot of even more uncomfortable follow-up questions. Questions I really couldn't afford to answer. I would have to tread carefully around that one. Sighing, I finally opened up the final email. To Laura Kinney. From Natasha Romanoff. Subject, hello there. Hello, Laura. I'm glad you had your mother contact me, so that we could get her and your sisters to safety. I'm sorry that your family was attacked before we could get there, but we were able to show up in time before any of them were seriously hurt. Your mother seems very proud of you. She was telling me that you're taking classes on how to get rid of brainwashing and mental programming. I'd be interested in hearing more about what you're learning, as it sounds like you could help a lot of people with a skill like that. I've gone over some of the notes left behind by the people that did this to you. I don't know how much you know about my own past, but I wanted to let you know that you're not alone. I think it would be good for both of us if we were able to sit down and talk about what we've been through together sometime. I understand that your studies are very important, and I'm going to be busy helping your little sisters out for the time being, but if you let me know where you are I can probably take a day or two off to fly out to meet you. I look forward to seeing you. Natasha. Okay, wow, yeah. So, apparently the Black Widow decided to start off with the soft sell, judging by the friendly tone of her email. She did spend a lot of time on the safety of my family, playing on my need to make sure that they're being taken care of, and my general goal of helping people. On the other hand, her attempts at gathering information were about as subtle as a punch in the face. It was a good sign that she was already taking direct interest in my family, as that would make it a lot more difficult for someone to disappear them. They should be safe enough until Hydra stages its coup, and with any luck my sisters should be able to get some training from a world-class assassin in the meantime. Leaning back in my chair, I took a deep breath, feeling the tension of the last week slowly drain from my body. I would have to spend some extra time meditating later, but for now I needed to reply to their emails. To Sarah Kinney. From Laura Kinney. Subject, visitors. Hi Mom. I'm so relieved that you're safe now, though my heart nearly stopped when I read about those men that attacked you. If the guy with the bow is who I think they are, then he's a pretty cool guy. Maybe Paris might want to see if he can help train her a bit. I did get an email from Natasha. She seems pretty eager to meet me. What have you been telling her about me? Love ya. Laura. P.S. I haven't gotten an email back from Belladonna yet. Is everything okay? To Natasha Romanoff. From Laura Kinney. Subject, hello there. Hi Natasha. Thank you so much for being there for my family. It really means a lot to me that you were willing to show up in person, and we're very lucky that you got there in time to stop them from getting kidnapped. Were you able to find out anything about who those people were, or who they work for? I know you can't give me any details, but I would sleep better at night if I knew that you were able to go after the people that tried to take my family from me. Mom told you the truth. I am learning how to get rid of foreign mental influences, like brainwashing and mental programming. As you no doubt already know, the scientists running the facility had programmed me to react to a certain chemical trigger scent, which would cause me to go into a berserker rage, killing whoever had been hit with it. Mom didn't know that she had been hit with that same trigger scent, and if I hadn't known to put on one of the filter masks the guards were wearing, I would have ended up killing my own mother. I've had a few nightmares about that, actually. It would be nice to sit down and talk with you at some point in the future, but until I know that my mind is well and truly my own, I think it would be best for me to remain where I am for now. Maybe we can meet up once I'm done with my training. I'm doing my best to deal with the memories of what they did to me, but I know you understand that it's going to take time for those hidden wounds to heal. Part of my training here involves a lot of meditation, and that is helping quite a bit. I'm worried about my sisters, though. They might have my memories, but they are all much younger than I am, and no child should ever have to deal with those kind of horrors. It wasn't easy on my mom either. She tried her best to be as much of a mother as the others would allow, but I know it killed her a bit inside as she was forced to watch the scientists do this to me. I know I am asking a lot from you, but they're the only good thing I have in the world right now, and it would mean a lot to me if you could be there for them when I cannot. Thank you. Laura. I sat staring at the small screen of the cell phone for several long minutes before finally sending my response to Natasha. There was so much I wanted to tell her, to tell my mother and sisters, but I knew I couldn't risk causing too many changes to the timeline. Not yet. I had chosen to be reborn in this world not only because I knew I would be able to find a way to get to the Mass Effect universe from here, but because not only would I be able to gain access to skills and technology that could prove crucial in the fight against the Reapers, I could also help prevent a few tragedies while I was here as well. However, the best way I had figured out how to accomplish this required waiting for a golden opportunity that wouldn't happen for another couple of years. If I made too many changes before that point, things would become much more difficult for me, and innumerable lives might be lost. One of the reasons I had chosen to be reborn as X-23 was because she wasn't really part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and taking over her life shouldn't have caused any significant changes in the timeline. Another reason she was a prime candidate was not only because her healing factor, but also because of the combat training she would have received by the point that my own memories were added into the mix. Memories of a life that was woefully lacking the combat skills that would be required if I wanted to have any chance at surviving what was to come. Everything changed for me the moment I woke up, my mind merging with that of a 14-year-old Laura Kinney, the more recent memories of her own life rearranging and settling themselves within the framework of my own life experiences. Laura's own love for her mother, which had been stifled in the harsh environment that she had been raised in, combined with the love I had for the mother I had left behind in my past life. And then I found my sisters. Sisters who I now knew carried the shared burden of all that I had suffered in this new life, without the added benefit of several decades of life experience to dull the pain. They also had to deal with the knowledge that they were clones, and that the memories that they had woken up with weren't even their own. Memories that no doubt included the same trigger scent programming that I had warned my mother about, before I fled to the opposite side of the planet, leaving the whole mess for her to deal with. Goddess, I had made a mess of things already, hadn't I? No wonder Belladonna hadn't responded to my email. She'd probably realized how I had left them all behind, and now she hated. My phone buzzed, announcing that I had an unread email. I felt a lump form in my throat when I saw that it was from Belladonna, dreading what she might have to say after not responding to the email I had sent to her 2 days ago. I clicked to open the email with a heavy heart. To Laura Kinney. From Belladonna Kinney. Subject, Hi sis. Hey, sorry, I hadn't sent anything to you over the last couple of days. We've been really busy getting ready for Mom to contact Natasha, and I hadn't even had the chance to sit down and read your email before Mom read hers and reminded me. Sorry. We've been taking shifts watching over Mom for the last few days, with only one of us sleeping at a time so that we can be sure we know she's safe. Things got real bad before Natasha showed up, and if it hadn't been for her friend with the bow we might have ended up losing Mom anyways. Natasha has been helping me and our sisters deal with what happened, and she's promised to help train us so that we can do a better job of protecting Mom in the future. She's been real nice to us, I think you'd like her. I did ask Mom about getting pictures taken of all of us, and she thought it sounded like a wonderful idea. Natasha had her friend take the pictures for us, and even joined us in a group picture with Mom. She's so cool. Mom says she's going to help me attach the pictures to this email. Let me know if you get them. It's so cool that you're learning how to get rid of the trigger sent for us. You're the best big sister ever. We all miss you too, and I made sure to give everyone a hug for you. Don't be a stranger. Love ya. Belle. P.S. Yes, you can call me Belle. My sisters didn't hate me. I laughed, I cried, I fell back on my bed and kicked my feet up in the air like I was running, and then I started looking at all of the pictures that Belle had indeed managed to get attached to the email. It took a long time for them to load, and the small screen on the phone didn't do them justice, but I finally got to see what my sisters looked like awake for the first time. It was easy to tell which one was Belladonna, her pale skin and hair setting her apart from the rest of her sisters, even though she shared the same face. That, and she had really pretty pink eyes. I couldn't help but notice the scars she had mentioned in her first email as I started to go through all of the pictures she had sent me. All 4 of them had a different set of scars on their faces, and presumably elsewhere on their bodies as well. Belle had mentioned that our younger sisters felt self-conscious about their scars, and it made me wonder why they still had them, even though they shared not just my face, by my healing factor. Maybe I could use the technique that the Ancient One used to alter my body to accept my claws to convince their bodies to heal those scars away. As I flipped through the pictures, I couldn't help but mirror the smiles they had on their own faces, feeling grateful that they could in fact smile after everything that had happened. I could only hope that they wouldn't have any reason to lose those smiles in the future, though I didn't miss the irony that I was relying on the assistance of a woman who had little reason to smile herself. I sat back up in my bed when the last picture finally loaded, and I found myself looking at a group picture showing my 4 sisters surrounding our mother, with the infamous Black Widow standing off to the side. My vision grew blurry with unshed tears when I saw the evidence of how much stress our mother had been suffering over the last week, the dark bags under her eyes standing out against the unhealthy paleness of her face. Our shared healing factor kept my sisters from showing the same physical evidence of their own stress, but there was an unmistakable tightness around their eyes and in their postures, in spite of the relieved smiles on their faces. Even more evident was the protective way they all stood around our mother, with Belladonna and Paris standing slightly behind her on either side, and little Zelda and Gabrielle mirroring them in front. What really interested me was what I saw when I examined Natasha Romanoff. There was a similar tightness around her own eyes, though I had no way of knowing how much of it was due to the current situation, and how much was left over from the life or death battle she had been in a mere week ago. I felt guilty for dumping this on her lap so close to her having to fight off an alien invasion, but after finding out about how close I had gotten to losing my family if she hadn't shown up on time, I felt entirely justified. As I examined the picture, I started to notice some subtle visual cues hidden in her body language, little things that alone could be easily overlooked, but when added together gave me a vital insight into what was going on inside her head. While her smile didn't quite reach her eyes, I did notice that one corner of her lips was pulled up a bit more than the other, hinting at the sardonic grin she often had when joking around with her teammates. And, while her arms were crossed defensively under her chest, showing off her widow's bite bracers, there was a subtle lean in her body, a shift in the way she was carrying her weight, as if she was fighting the urge to get closer to my family. I wasn't quite sure how that made me feel, actually. Deciding that there wasn't anything I could really do about the situation for the time being, I decided to save all of the pictures my sister had sent to the phone, before writing her back. To Belladonna Kinney. From Laura Kinney. Subject, Hi sis. Hi, Belle. Don't feel bad about not getting back to me, the safety of our mother was a lot more important than sending me an email. I'm just glad that you're all safe now. I want you to know that I am very proud of all of you. As far as Natasha goes, it's really not my place to tell you what she's been through, but she is one of the only people I know of that really understands what we've been through. She hasn't had it easy either, but maybe we can be there for her, just like she is for us. Thank you so much for the pictures. Would it be vain of me to say that you're all very pretty? I'd send a picture back myself, but the camera on the phone I have is broken, and it's not exactly under warranty. Unfortunately, there is a lot I have to learn before I'm going to be able to get rid of our trigger sense, so I need you all to be very careful. Maybe you should see if they will allow you and our sisters to wear a filter mask just to be on the safe side. Don't worry, I'll stay in touch. Love ya. Laura. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.